Hello, everybody. Welcome to our CakeFu Master Series. I'm happy to have everyone here today, and thanks for joining us. I'm Amelia Carbine. I'm the host, and we really, really enjoy these CakeFu trainings. I'm glad that you're here, and glad that you guys watch. It's fun for me, and I hope it's just as fun for you guys. Today we have a really awesome guest. She is really knowledgeable about cake decorating businesses, and she's going to be speaking to us today about how to start and how to improve, your cake businesses. So, welcome, Lisa.
Hello. Thank you so much for having me.
Hey, okay. Oh, really fast, Lisa. You want to put up your little label thing down at the bottom? You can remember how to do that. I should have walked you through that before we started.
Oh.
Sorry. Anyway,
And part of being in the cake decorating business is constantly learning.
it is. It is. Anyway, yeah, have that label there for you
There
so
it is.
everyone can recognize you. Okay.
Hold
So,
on.
Lisa,
Where's
did you find it?
I'm looking.
Sorry, guys.
Hi guys.
Okay, do you have
Can
the toolbox
Yes,
open?
I have it.
Okay.
God, I'm getting there. I'm getting there.
Ah, there you
There.
go.
Hold on. Where'd my logo go?
I don't know. Is that your preset? Did you see the presets down at the bottom?
Yes. Preset name. Hi everybody.
That's one thing about being live. Every once in a while you run into something, oh, whoops. But we're live, and I hope you guys, can
Oh,
bear with us.
there.
Perfect. There, it's beautiful.
Yay. Here I
All right,
am.
so Lisa,
Okay.
let's talk about you
Yes.
and
Okay.
how you started, where you came from, and where you are now.
I started Delicious Desserts 22 years ago, right in
Wow.
Falmouth, Cape Cod. Prior to starting Delicious Desserts, I had worked in corporate America for 12, 15 years and just wanted to do something different. Always had a passion about decorating cakes and just took a leap of faith, quit my job, went back to school, and a year later I was in my own little business working right out of my house, right in Falmouth, making cakes.
That's wonderful. So you have a business background then. Do you want to?
I do. I graduated Boston University, their school of management program, which was wonderful. Excuse me, wonderful. And went right into corporate America in business as product management for, again, about 12, 15 years.
That's great. It's always nice to have people in the industry that have that business background because, a lot of us have started out as just, for me anyway, and I know a lot of people started out, hey, I just want to be able to make a cake here and there,
Right,
and then people
right,
started requesting, and then all of a sudden it turns into, oh my goodness, I'm going to have to start charging people for this, or I'm going to go broke,
right,
and then it
right.
turns into, might as well just make this into a business because, I'm
Uh,
already charging people, might as well do this. And so starting
Absolutely.
from that, we don't know how to start, where to go, any of that. So
Well,
it's
I'll tell
nice
you,
to have people
every
like you.
well, everything you said is so accurate. Accurate. I am really convinced that my business background was a huge springboard for me and helped immensely. But that being said, I think with the right guidance, anybody can do it.
That's
People ask me one thing. You probably haven't asked me this question yet, but I mean, if you have the passion to do something, I think that's all you need. And then help along the way, which is what I'm here for, what you're here for, and millions of other platforms. But honestly, it's the passion to do what you want to do and getting the right help along the way, which is what I'm hoping to help everyone out there today do.
Yeah, that's awesome. Okay, so you actually have a Craftsy class out
I do.
on how to start a cake decorating business. Is that?
Yes, yes. Yep.
Awesome. And we actually have a discount for you guys today. It's a 25% discount on the Craftsy classes, well, on Lisa's Craftsy class. So there should be a link down below, and I will also show you guys. Here we go. Here you go. There's the link. If you can't see it down below, there's the link right there. cakefu.com/Lisa discount. And that right there will get you 25% off of Lisa's class for the next 24 hours. So make sure you run over there, take advantage of that discount, and yeah, we'll talk about some of the things that are in the Craftsy class, and then we will yeah. We are going to do a giveaway of Lisa's Craftsy class also, so that'll be really fun. All right. So Lisa, also you have done some consulting, is that right?
I have.
Is that a big thing for you? It's
becoming bigger and bigger, and I love it. When I started 22 years ago, Amelia, the cake world wasn't the way it is now. It has absolutely exploded. We used to make our own luster dust. It just didn't exist. We made it. We shaved chalk. So the tools, the teaching, there wasn't internet really when I started. So it has changed so much. So now, because of all the options available to us to learn, there's so many more people out there. So a lot of people are looking for help on how to do what I did. And I'm thrilled. I love it. The more people out there, the better. It's just great. So consulting has been a big thing. And just a note about the Craftsy class, one of the things I absolutely love about it is when you take any of the Craftsy classes, you have access to the instructor, which means you can ask me any questions through the Craftsy platform, it's awesome. I love answering the questions. So, and this just brings me right in front of the people, thanks to you and CakeFu. So it's great. So the short answer to your question is I'm doing a lot more consulting every single day.
That is wonderful. Yeah, that is something that, since you mentioned that, Craftsy is really awesome at making sure that they keep you connected with the instructors. And so it's not just going and watching a video, it's going and, watching this video, you can pause, you can do an instant replay, you can ask questions and get answers straight from the trainers, and it's from the instructors, and it's just it really is a great thing. So
it is.
I really enjoy the Craftsy classes.
I do too.
I think I have most of them at this point. So yeah. Anyway, all right. So let's go ahead and one thing I wanted to talk about, which I thought was really cool, because you mentioned this last week, is you have like thousands and thousands of cookie orders. How did you come about this, and how do you?
I love that question because it is such a great question. It was old-fashioned networking, and this kind of talks to what we do when we get to a point where we're working full-time, which I was doing. I was in corporate America, and making that transition into our own business. I worked 2 jobs. At one point, I was working 3 jobs to start Delicious Desserts. So one of the jobs I was working was waitressing in a local restaurant and just talking to everybody, and someone came in, we just started talking, which is networking. Turns out he owns a really big company. This was 15 years ago, because it was 6 years of working another job before I could just support myself on Delicious Desserts alone. So about 15 years ago, 16 years ago, met this guy that I was waiting on, just got to talking, told him about myself. He was looking for someone to make cookies for him to give to his clients. The first year, I did 22 tins. This year, if I spun my computer, but I won't because I'll probably fall off the desk, you will see in my office right in front of me 400 tins. The order went from 22 tins to 400. So that's how I got the order. And that's really key. Facebook is great. Social media is great. It is. But I am seeing a huge return to old-fashioned one-on-one, which is what we're doing. We happen to be doing it online, but it's the old-fashioned networking. I'm meeting people. I know you guys are out there. I want you to contact me, help you through the way, along the way, but that's what it is. So that's how I got the order. Talking.
Wonderful. That, and that really is a huge part of what we do because, word of mouth, someone gets a really amazing cake or a great box of cookies,
Yeah.
and so they tell their friends, and their friends are like, oh, hey, so and so had these, let's get the same, and it just spreads that way,
It does.
If you've got a good product and you package it well or present it well and are very professional, then you're bound to grow. So, yeah.
Yeah, I agree, 1,000%.
All right. Well, we have some pictures here that we are going to talk about. Here is this is part of the Craftsy class that you have been talking about. We have the recommended starter tools for a cake decorator if you're just starting out.
Yeah. The reason I came up with this list is to show you the instinct is to buy everything. And again, when I first started, there wasn't a million supplies. There wasn't Michael's. There wasn't, Buddy wasn't out there selling everything. It just wasn't what it is now. But that being said, the first thing you want to do is buy everything. The purpose of this list is just really to look at the very, very basics things of what you need. So you don't have to, so you can see that you don't have to spend a huge amount of money. And I have the tools, all the other fun things, but this again is just a really bare minimum for the nuts and bolts, for the technical end of how to decorate a cake.
Mm-hmm. Well, and I find when I am doing a cake, these are the things that I constantly come back to. And when I'm, when I am just throwing a cake together, these really are the standards. And
they are.
The other things are fun sometimes.
Well, yeah.
But here's another section of it. But these are the crucial. You have to have these things.
This is the foundation. And I teach a class on basic cake decorating, and I call it boot camp because there's really a lot of parts of cake decorating, but to really decorate a cake, you need to get the basics down, which is the base frosting and mastering that, and this is all you need to do it. As you develop your own skill set, the tools that you need are going to be completely different. I won't list off things, but there are some things that I don't buy, I don't do because I'm just not good at that type of cake decorating. But that'll come as you develop your own style.
Yeah, yeah. Well, and this, goes to show that you don't have to spend a fortune just to get started.
Exactly, and that's just it. That's part of the point behind this list.
There you go.
Because it's hard because you're starting. You don't want to. And maybe some of us do, but it's manageable financially to do it.
Okay, so we need to talk about actually making your cake cake business an actual legal cake business, because I know that a lot of people, especially ones that are just starting out, are just doing cakes, without having a business license, without having, the proper procedures taken. And so we're going to talk about a little bit of how and why you want to start an official cake business and what you need to do.
Okay. Fabulous question. Let's see, what's the word? Not every state allows people to operate business from out of their house. And it's something called cottage laws. So to officially and legally make cakes out of our house, we have to live in a state that has cottage laws. First thing you want to do is find out if your state does. And there's websites that will tell you right away. If you don't live in a state that allows you to legally operate a food-based business out of your house, I wouldn't be too alarmed because you still have a lot of great options. So the answer is going to be a little lengthy, but if uh, you can still do it either way, either out of your house or, and I'm not talking about a retail bakery, but what our steps are would be great if your goal is to have a storefront, a brick and mortar retail bakery somewhere, because there's options for those of us that can't work out of their house, commercial rental space, commercial kitchen rental space. Restaurants can rent you space. Churches, civic organizations. When I first started, I live in Massachusetts, so we have cottage laws, so it was okay for me. I worked out of my mother's house. I outgrew my mother's house, and I went to a local, it's called the Marine Lodge. It's the Masons, and they rented me their kitchen space. Really short money. So you got to look around, be a little creative. Caterers, there are options. But in either case, whether you're working out of your house or in a rented space, there are certain permits that you have to get. But it sounds intimidating. The first call I would make in either case, whether you're working out of your house or you want to rent kitchen space, is call your town hall. They're the ones. I mean, I can tell you step by step what to do, but it is going to be a little different for every single solitary community, because all our towns have different bylaws and ordinances, et cetera, et cetera. So the first thing you do want to do is even if you live in a cottage state, you want to call your zoning board, and that's the town hall. They will help you. They're really there to help you. Their job is to help us. They want us to succeed. They're not going to say, they're going to tell you what you need to do to get to work out of your house. You're also going to talk to the Board of Health, and they're going to tell you what you need. I was really scared, but they're there to help us. Their job is to protect the public, so they're just going to teach us how to handle food safely. And stop me if I'm talking too much and getting too technical, but
no. I think this is all information that people want to hear and need to hear, because
and it's important, and it's the right thing to do. You know, you can do it. You know, maybe your neighbor's going to call, maybe a competitor's going to call, but you know, there's not police out there. But if you're serious and you want to do it, it is easy to do. Even if you rent, so if you're working out of your house, you need to talk to your zoning board. They'll tell you exactly what to do. If you're working out of a rented kitchen space, chances are, if it's a legal operating licensed kitchen, you're already zoned. If you're renting, like I did, the Marine Lodge, or what's another place like a Marine Lodge, like a Knights of Columbus, you know, still check in with your local authorities. In all cases, you have to talk to your Board of Health.
We have a good question here. Someone is asking, how long should we expect the process of setting up a home business to take?
That's a great question. The big wild card is your zoning board. Here's an example. I guess a better way to let me tell you my little story. When I decided I wanted to start Delicious Desserts and I wanted to start out of my mother's house, I called the Board of Health first, is who I called first. And they said, you have to call the zoning board, make sure your address is zoned for business. Did all that. So that was all quick. That was half hour. If the zoning board had said to me, yep, you are A-okay, go ahead, I would call the Board of Health. They would, the time it takes to turn around an application is a week, 3 weeks. It depends how busy they are. Because literally, I find out I'm zoned. I say to the Board of Health, here's my application. They set up an appointment, and it's immediate. So that it can happen really quickly. That's how quickly it can happen. And for when I worked out of my mother's house 22 years ago, it probably took me 2 weeks, less than 2 weeks, to be legal and up and running.
That's great.
Here's another. So here's the other side of the story. Not the other side. The next chapter of the book. I outgrew my mother's house. I moved into the Marine Lodge, and that was turnkey. I had to get a new health permit because I was in a new location. I outgrew the Marine Lodge. I moved into my house where my business exists today, where we're at, and I called my zoning board, found out that I was zoned for business, but they require home businesses to be on 1 acre of land.
Oh, wow.
So that was a little red flag. But, and this is why it's really important to go talk to them, tell them everything, because they said to me, you need to have a variance, which that term just scared me right away. But they said, and you have to have a board of hearing and all this. So basically what they said is, the rule in Falmouth is you can have a home-based business, or the rule where I live in Falmouth, you can have a home-based business as long as you're on over 1 acre. If you're not, we need to break the rules, but we can. Requires a hearing. You don't need a lawyer. You don't need anything. So I'm on a 1/2 acre of land, and the purpose of the hearing is to allow your neighbors to weigh in on how they feel, because the zoning board is there to protect the community. Mm-hmm. So for what we're going to be doing, and I know this is a leap, and I hope I shouldn't say it on the air because it'll come back. No, our business I don't think is disruptive. I did have a problem when I had my hearing. One of my neighbors, I think she thought I was opening up a Dunkin' Donuts because she really raised all kinds of flags. But I'm getting, the process can be very quick. The process can be quick. When I moved, they scheduled my hearing as quickly as they could. So it took about a month to get approved in my existing location, and that was just because of scheduling.
Okay.
And some places will have a waiting period for people. Once they make the decision, they have to put it in the paper saying, we just said delicious desserts can work out of 44 Candace Way. Anybody, it's like, in a wedding, like anyone object, say now or speak now or forever hold your peace. So it's going to be a little different, but it's a quick process.
That's good. I think people are intimidated in that process, and so they either don't take the steps to do it right away, or they just get this overwhelming sense of this is just so much, and I'm just a stay-at-home mom. How am I supposed to do this? But if you're really going to be doing cakes for people, it really needs to happen. It really does. For your own safety as well as for everyone else.
Absolutely.
And if you take these steps, you're more likely to act as an actual business and to charge what you're worth, and to make sure that you're doing things right. Because it's your business on the line. So
it's true, and it validates what you do. I mean, it really does.
It does. It does. Yeah. So this business certificate that I guess it's a business certificate application is what it is.
And that's the other beauty of, I live in a small town, so I really encourage you to just make friends with the town clerk's office, someone in the town hall, because they'll hold your hand. They want you to succeed. So this DBA that you're looking at, or the business registering your business name, really, this is all you need to do to become a legal business. It says who you are and where you are and what you're doing. So it tells the town you're there.
That's not a lot of people work.
No, well, and if you put up the other form, I show the application, and then I just show you that I hand wrote it. So this took 3 minutes. So that's how quick it is. They really, okay, this is going to sound hard. It's like, give me your check for $40 and you're all set.
Yep.
So it's just advising the town It's letting you know, but it's a part of the process. But this, now, it took really 30 seconds. I went into town hall. I had the form, so I already had it filled out. Handed her my check. She stamped it, and I was done.
That's
And
great.
that was registering my business name. A key point to this is, and I don't know how much you want to get into this, is I've chosen to be a sole proprietor. This
Okay.
is telling the town I'm operating as a sole proprietor. If you decide to be a limited liability corporation or an LLC,
Mm-hmm.
you don't really need this. But I don't want to get too much into that. I like when people talk to accountants about that,
Mm-hmm.
the best way to structure your business, and an attorney, or just read more about it before I get into that. But I've chosen for
Yeah.
a lot of different reasons, and it works for me to be a sole proprietor.
Okay. When I had mine, I actually did have an LLC, only for the reason that I felt like I was more protected in the
Which is
case that
true.
someone might
And it,
be.
yeah. All
Yeah.
right, sorry.
Oh, you're fine.
Keep losing my ears.
Yeah. So really, you just need to look into whether a sole proprietor business or an LLC is best for
Yeah,
you.
yeah. There's
Um,
different business
so
structures.
you felt comfortable with the sole proprietor. I felt like I needed an LLC. So I mean, you just do whatever you feel works best for
It's
you.
true. I mean, and there's different things that I talk about in the Craftsy class and when I consult about why is that ringing? What brings you what different reasons to do different things. So,
Okay,
and this works for me for right now. You never know. I could change.
that's good. That's good. You do, it works, and you're legal.
And
That's
I
what
think,
matters.
but what I
You're
think,
legal.
why I feel so strongly about the sole proprietor is because the population out there of people that want to start the cake business, it's an expense to do an LLC. It's a lot more work.
It is.
It
Mm-hmm.
will make the process longer. And I'm not saying that people aren't committed, but if you, this is working out of your home, renting commercial kitchen space on a small scale, starting as a sole proprietor, is an absolutely fabulous way to test the waters. Because you don't know. You may, we say it all the time, what we do as a hobby doesn't always translate into a business for us. We might
That's
not
true.
enjoy it as much. It's a whole different can of worms when you work for yourself. Whatever you're doing, whether you're making, crafts, it's different. So that's what I like about the part of this of starting simple. And being a sole
Uh-huh.
proprietor lets you start really quickly, short money, not a lot of exposure, and to just see if it is good for you. You could
That's
what's
that's true.
brilliant is you could always become an LLC.
Mm-hmm. This is
So,
true.
so that's what I like about
This is
this.
true. Yeah. Okay. So now we want to talk about kind of the way that you handle your consultations. And when someone sends you an email or a phone call or something like that, how you go about your what you do.
Okay.
So
Um,
this.
Another long answer. This is a whole
Hey, you
book.
know what? This is good information. I know, and I told you when we were planning this, I said, you know what? We could have an entire training. We could have
Absolutely.
several trainings on just the consultation
Oh,
because
oh,
that is
we can.
huge.
We can. All right, let's see. The first thing, again, when I started, I wasn't getting emails. There weren't emails. I was getting phone calls. The first thing, what you want to do and what I do is a little different. And this is going to sound horrible, but right now, oh, this isn't staying in my ear.
Sorry.
Is it going to be a problem if I just take it out? All right, I'll leave it.
As long as you have one in and you can
Okay.
hear at least a little bit, it's not a
All right.
big deal.
Okay. Um, what you want to do when you talk to someone on the phone, well, first, phone or email. First thing is, I can't strongly encourage you enough to be responsive, to return the phone call as soon as possible, to email back as soon as possible. As elementary as that sounds, I hear it all the time when I'm meeting with clients about other vendors when I'm making wedding cakes, that they like to hear right back. So that has become more and more important to me. So respond right away, whether email, answering as many questions as you can, or a phone call getting back to you. Once I have them on the phone or I'm emailing them, I want to find out as best I can what their expectations are. In other words, how many people they're having at the wedding, if they have an idea of the style of the cake they want. Because what I'm finding a little bit now is more with the all occasion cakes, not the wedding cakes, is sculpted cakes and three-dimensional cakes are so popular now, and it's not my strong suit. So after 22 years, I'm trying to learn to say no to things that I'm just not good at. And with Craftsy and with the explosion of the cake world, there are just people that do these figures. I mean, Mike McCary and his cakes, Lauren Kitchens, Marie, they're amazing, and I can't do it. So I quickly try and figure out which direction they're going in. So I can say either, oh, sorry, I'm booked, instead of saying, no, I can't do that. But that's really important. That's one of the first things I do.
Good. Okay, talking about response time and everything, how quickly do you think that they should be getting back to people? Like within an hour, within a day? I mean, and also, how do you handle when people are trying to call you at 10 o'clock at night? You know?
Those are that great question, Amelia. I like within 24 hours. I mean, just the way I am is I'm getting back to them as soon as possible. By the end of the day, I like it. If I wait 24 hours, I feel like I've waited not too long. I don't mean to sound dramatic and like an alarmist, but these people are calling a lot of people. They've got their checklist. They're doing things. The internet has made everything more of an instantaneous world. So definitely within 24 hours.
Okay.
And the phone calls at 10 o'clock at night, which I get, I just try and remember to leave my extension. My shop is 800 square feet, which is attached to my house. It used to be my garage, and then I added on, so I just walk through a door. So when I go into the house, I try and remember to leave my phone in the shop.
That's smart. That really is.
It doesn't always work, but so that's what I do. You know, and I'm getting off subject a little bit. You got to just like at night at 8 o'clock at night, if the phone rings and it's, you know, a number I don't recognize and I do have my phone with me, you know, I have to decide at 8 o'clock at night, do I want to answer the phone? Mm-hmm. Because is 8 o'clock, are they expecting to talk to someone? And I don't think they are. So if it's a call I don't recognize, I'll wait, because even though we work out of our houses, you know, I work 24 hours a day probably. We're always working. But I think there's an expectation that you're not going to be there at 8 o'clock at night. So I don't feel compelled.
Yeah. Well, if I can give kind of an input into what I did, when I had my actual business line for cakes, I actually had a Google phone number that went to my cell phone, because my cell phone was my business phone, and because I never used my home phone. But I created a Google phone number for that, and I made it so that it actually had a different ringtone, so that if anybody did call my Google number, I would know that it was business related. And so, you know, at 8 o'clock at night, I didn't have to answer that, but I could still, you know, get the phone calls from all of my friends and not have to worry if I'm not answering a phone for someone who, you know, I should be answering the phone for, or if it's someone just, you know, calling to try and order a cake. So that was one thing that really helped me out as far as having a cell phone. So yeah, I love the Google numbers.
Yeah, there you go.
So. All right. So, and then after you respond to them and set up an appointment, we're going to talk about the forms that you fill out, the things that you send to them, and things you keep, and things like that. So let's see. This right here is just an intro kind of a thing, saying thanks for contacting me.
No, actually, this is
this is a deposit.
Deposit, yeah. This is,
Yeah,
and this is
okay.
something, a little part of the Craftsy class and a lot of what I do.
Mm-hmm.
We're jumping out of the cake order form right now. A lot of people ask me, do I print brochures? Do I print this? Do I print that? You can print anything you want, and it's not a bad thing. I've been doing more and more online because things evolve and change so quickly. And one wedding cake contract, as comprehensive as I think I have it, there's always something a little different. And what I use Pages, which is an Apple product, or Apple Pages, which I love because it's a template, but I can tweak it, and then I just email it. I can print it out as a document if I need to, but I can change on the spot. And I like that, and
that's great. So this right here is your worksheet. So you have a contract, you have a worksheet, and then like a way of saying thanks for your deposit, and then you're paid in full. So this one right here is the worksheet. We're going to take a little bit of a closer look so you can talk about what each of these categories are and how you use them.
Right. This is actually something, I actually have a pad. This is a physical pad, not to contradict what I just said, but this, when I'm meeting with the client, I made this form on my computer, just printed it out, and made it into pads, staples, really inexpensive, because if I change it, it's not a huge expense to go to have a million printed. There's certain information I need to know, just generally speaking, but what this information tells me not only about this particular client, but
we're having a little bit of a pause in things. So anyway, until she comes back, this is her worksheet, and I really like the idea of her making it into a pad. So you just print off a bunch of copies of it, take it to Staples, have them make it into a little notepad thing that you can tear off the page, and here you go, or I guess put it into your files, or things like that. So hopefully we get Lisa back here. I'll move on to the to the bottom part in a second. So basically, and this is fairly similar to the form that I would have for myself. So you want to be able to have their name, their address, contact information, because especially with a wedding cake, you don't want to be trying to find them at the last minute and not being able to contact them because some little thing that you forgot on your consultation form. Maybe you forgot to write in what color of border they wanted, or something so simple like that. So getting good contact information, and especially for a wedding, make sure that you get contact information for someone other than the bride, because if it comes down to the day of the wedding, you don't want to be contacting the bride. So make sure that you have either the mother of the bride, father of the bride, maid of honor, someone like that you can actually contact and be able to check with them, or say, oh, I guess I didn't write down the time of the place where we're supposed to arrive. What time did you need us to set up the cake? Or oh, we're having a problem because the location says that you're not supposed to be here till So you have someone that you can contact. Another thing is also make sure that you do get that information that I'm saying, what if you forget? Because that's really pretty important. You want to know the location, you need to know the time, you need to, have someone to contact, you need to have what time the ceremony starts and what time you're supposed to be there to set up, just so that you know that, your window of arrival is limited and you don't want to be showing up when they're doing the ceremony. So yeah, and so this would be the flavors, and anyway, so you want to be able to figure out what flavors they want for each layer, if you do different layer flavors or not, and then talk about the style. So in style, I always would draw pictures. Anyway, hang on, sorry. Right, so I would draw pictures, just a little sketch. And this is, last week we had a really great training, and yeah, so we had a really great training with Liz Merrick, and she talked about her the way that she does her sketches, and it would work really well into this. So basically, you would take a really rough sketch of sorry, trying to get through these technical difficulties. So yeah, you could do a little rough sketch on here, take all the notes you can, and then later on go and use Liz's template thing that is really cool. If you missed that last week, you need to go and watch that because it's really cool. So it looks like she has a lot of information on here, really good information. That first question, saving top, I think that's a really good question for brides and grooms is, are they going to be saving the top of the cake, or are they going to be getting rid of, serving that top layer of cake? Some people like to save it, some people don't. So just to check and see, that's a question I always did ask too. I just never had it written on my form, which I think is kind of cool. You can, go through all the different, styles and things like that you like to do, or that are available to them as options, and do it that way. Okay, so let's see. The next page she had was a contract, and if you'll bear with me for just a second. Okay, we're trying to get her on the line. Okay, so here's a cake contract that she uses, and she has a lot of this stuff on her Craftsy class, and it's a lot more in detail. So I would suggest going and checking out her Craftsy class. Hopefully we can have her do her explanation of it. But we have as a breakdown, this is the contract. So it's a lot of the same information that is on the worksheet, but you can actually do it more professional and more, well done and neat for the client. So, and these are, if you have a cake decorating business, you should already have things like this, and if not, you definitely need to put things like this in place. But these are some really great ideas, and if you have something in place, maybe these can be some good ideas on things that you can do to improve. And let's see. So let's see. This is the contract for her. I guess she even has on here the florist, in case you have a florist actually putting the flowers onto the cake. I think that's a good idea to have that information so that you can contact the florist if you need to, or to even say on there that I'm not responsible for the flowers because you didn't want me to be, so here's the florist. This is who's responsible for that, and it will keep you safer that way. I think that's a good idea. And then the bottom half of that worksheet, Again, the style. If you're doing Liz Merrick's way of doing things, you could actually print out a picture for them. But this right here, if you do a rough sketch for them or whatever it is that you do for yours. Let's see, there's pricing. This is the way that she breaks down her pricing. I'm not all that familiar with it, so I don't know how, if I can be that expert on what she does. It really depends on, cake pricing is a really big thing. I know that there are constantly questions on how much do you charge for this, and how do you set up a charging, or a cake serving or cost estimate thing, So, and there are, I think there's Cake Boss that's out there that helps, figure out those kinds of things. Helps you to figure out, how much per ingredient you should be charging, and then how much you should be charging on top of that. And so, there's a lot of things that go into that. So it looks like she has, let's see, cake per serving and then total servings. So I guess that, is she?
She's restarting her computer.
Oh, okay. She says she's restarting her computer, so hopefully that will help her out and get her back on. But in the meantime, let's see, extra cake per serving, and I really will have to have her talk you through this, because this is nothing like what I would use to do my my costs. But I like the idea that she has the rental and the delivery fee in there, because some people have the bases that the cake stands and things that your cakes can sit on. Some people provide them free of charge. Some people have a rental fee. Some people have just a part of the deposit, and I guess it all depends on how you want to run things. Sometimes people give that rental fee back once they get their stand back, which I did that because I always wanted to get my stuff back. And if you're holding a check, a separate check saying, okay, you're paying for for this, and I'm holding this check. If you bring it back, you get the check back. If you don't, then I'm cashing this check, because I need to, I need to cover myself for this cake stand, because it can start to add up. They're not cheap. So total servings, the delivery fee also. Some people just add that into their, into everything. Some people have a separate delivery fee. Some people give you the option of picking up the cake from the shop or not. Me personally, I always delivered. I just didn't even make that an option, and so I just put that into the cost of the cake. And so it's a personal thing. If you decide to do an actual delivery fee to where people can say, hey, I don't want to pay that delivery fee, so let me come pick it up. So let's see, and then a deposit. A deposit is really important, and you want to have that deposit before you. Oh, back? You're back. I don't see you yet.
Smiling. Thank you.
I hear you though. That's wonderful. Yay.
So sorry.
Oh, that's okay.
Hold
that's
on.
All right. Don't have your image back yet, but I do see you. I do hear you, so that's, I guess, the most important part. Yes.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Oh, that's quite all right. This is, again, we're talking about going live. Things like this happen. So, welcome back, Lisa. I'm glad you're back.
Thank you.
Okay, so I was actually trying to make sense of your contract, your wedding contract. I think that the first part of it was pretty self-explanatory. We'll go back to that really fast.
Okay.
So this is the first portion of it. I think it's pretty self-explanatory. I don't know if anybody had any questions on that. If you do, make sure you ask those questions in the chat box or in the comment section down below if you can't see the chat box. And okay, so like I said, I think that the first part of it is pretty self-explanatory, but the second part of it in the actual pricing, can you explain how you do the pricing?
Yes. Pricing, that's a whole another seminar, which I would love to do. Pricing is the hugest topic right now. Very, very basically speaking, when you're pricing a cake, you need to know your costs. And there's a formula to figure out your costs. And this is the cost of your ingredients in a particular recipe. Whether it be the cake, the cake or cupcakes or cake pops, whatever it is you're baking, the frosting, your ingredient costs you have to determine per whatever it is you're making. In my Craftsy class, there's a form that will walk you through the steps. Once you know your cost, you're going to figure out your extra costs. So in other words, you're making a 10-inch cake for Amelia's son, and we're going to make a trumpet on the cake. So you take and figure out how much your 10-inch cake costs, how much the frosting that you're going to use for the 10-inch cake costs, and that's going to be one total cost. Then you're going to take the cost of making the trumpet, which is going to be modeling chocolate, it could be gum paste, fondant, whatever your particular technique is. The big part of this cost is your time. And putting a dollar figure on our time, I think for me personally, and I think for most of the people I talk to, is the single biggest challenge in pricing our cakes. Because we undervalue ourselves, or at least most people do. So it's tricky. So to know how to price, you've got to know your cost, then you have to learn this wild card of how much our time is to prepare this item. Generally, basically, one rule of thumb is you figure your labor at 3 times the cost of your ingredients. It works. It evolves. It's a unique formula for every cake we do. So if I'm making your trumpet and I know I have $3 worth of ingredients and it's taking me an hour to make, when I first started, I priced my time at $20 an hour. You know, some things we make might be really, 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 really complicated and hard. It might take us 6 hours, but we can't charge $150 for that. So you have some freedom to take into consideration what our time is worth, but make it a value that your client is willing to pay.
I think that's really true. And this is one thing for people starting out is that how do you gauge how much your time really is worth, because you know you're going to be slower than someone who's been doing this for 20 years.
I'm glad you brought that up.
Yeah, or for someone like me, I'm such a perfectionist. I take forever doing everything anyway.
Well, it's so true, Amelia, and that's why it is hard. I don't know if I'm doing more and more in pricing, and there's a lot of detail to it, is what I'm saying. But you're so right. I can't tell you how many times I've spent, just like you said, literally 18 hours trying to make something that should have taken me 2 hours. I can't charge my client 18 hours worth because it took me that long. So that's when you have to use your own intelligence and say, realistically, this is how long it should have taken because I chose to take it longer. Makes me look better, it makes my product look better, but my client shouldn't have to pay for that. So you have to come up with that happy medium, which is tricky. I give you that, especially with all the new techniques that are out there that people are doing that are crazy. Yeah. But you got to charge for it. The other thing I want to mention when you're pricing your cakes after you figure out what your labor's worth, because that's the real key point. I think $20 to start is a good ballpark. So you got your cost of the ingredients, you've got your labor. Don't forget your packaging, like the cake boards, and the box and your labels, because those add up. So make sure you include those.
That is really a big deal because you really can, you can really just nickel and dime yourself down to you're not making any money because of all of
Exactly.
all the things that go into making the cake that you didn't think about in the first place, and then
It's true.
yeah,
And it's
it
true.
really
And
is
a
true.
lot of times, like I'll do something and I'll cost out an ingredient wrong, and I can't go back. I choose not to go back to my client and say, oh, you know what? I made a huge mistake. I didn't know there was going to be a freeze, so I didn't know strawberries were going to cost me 10 times as much. I didn't know, and this is true, Mad Cow, a couple years ago, the effect it had on dairy products. Didn't know
Oh
that when
yeah.
I estimated your, and that's part of the contract. It works in our favor and against us, but to me, that's the cost of doing business. Sometimes you just
hmm
have to absorb it.
Yeah, yeah. Okay, so I wanted to show this, and we saw the one about the deposit, and
Yeah.
so this is actually a paid in full. So how do you do that? Is this like a postcard that you send out, or is this an email that you
No,
send, or?
this is a document that I have in Pages, and I fill in the applicable information, and I copy this and I put this right on their contract. And then I
Oh,
send
okay.
them a copy of their contract indicating that it's paid in full. I just do this because I like the personal touch and it makes it a little different. When I
Mm-hmm.
first started doing it, I just would enter in the amount paid and the amount due. Then I just added this because it's big, it's pretty, they love it. Weddings, it's more
Yeah.
personal, so.
Of course, they
So
want
that's
they want
fun.
that nice, pretty touch because yeah, like you said, it's a wedding.
So
Yep,
I just, that's how I do my paid in full stamp of approval.
awesome, awesome. Okay, so we're pretty much out of time, and I'm sorry that that
I'm
we didn't get to cover
sorry.
everything.
I feel
Well, oh,
badly.
that's okay. Things like this happen. It's live that happens. So we'll just have to have you back on again
I would
sometime.
love it. I would love it.
So. Yeah, and those of you that want more information on, starting a cake business, helping yourself to make it grow, things about, things that steps that you need to take, things you need to do, make sure you check out Lisa's Craftsy class. Or pretty close to the same, cakefu.com/Lisa discount, and that's going to get you 25% off of Lisa's class for the next 24 hours.
And
So
me.
yes, and go like Lisa's Facebook page.
No, I meant if you buy the class, you get me too, because you get to ask me
Oh, that's
questions.
right. Yeah. Good point. You do get Lisa's attention when you buy the class. You can ask her all the questions. So if you had any questions here, and sorry that Lisa was dropped,
I am so
but
sorry.
but yeah, you can go and ask Lisa all the questions you want on her Craftsy page. So, all right, thank you guys so much, and we'll see you all next time.
Thank
Bye.
you. Goodbye.